Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Western Canon Challenge, where we are reading the entirety of the Western literary canon out loud. Well, we are continuing our series on the poems of Trumbull Stickney. We are endeavoring to read all of them, and I'm going to do a few of the longish ones in this video. I think all the ones that are left actually are on the longish side. I was trying to get the small ones and group those together so it's not really long poem with a 5-line poem and then back to a 4-page poem. I just tried to sort of group them in lengthwise. So we have a few of the heavy hitters, so to speak, and this is the shortest of them, I think, Ode. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get started reading it. Ode. Hills, mountains, lakes, farewell, summits and snows, and thou sunful air of Engadine, gentian and daisy and bell, where the wind blows. Yea, all thou nature that mine eyes have seen, farewell. Never again shall we behold your arched skies, save when estranged by pain, with pale and old and other eyes. Here to these sights, and laced about with human thoughts, we came. A terror spelled us at the windy lights, our breath grew lame, and on this world our vision fell distraught. Too stinging near the sun, the space too utter large, the air acrid so fine it was, our beaten spirit, impotent to share, became as glass, brittle and dead before the vision. We could our face but hide, our arms about us for a pall. Heaven has shattered us, we cried and cried. Our ear dissolved, our voice quavered, and we were small. Yet the rich passage of the natural days, dragging their carmine webs and violent hems over the flowered world, and all about unfurled the languid nets of evening dripping gems through the low rays. With after-train of stars, sober divinities and simple diadems, where on your cars you move in circle to the tracks of day, ye enfolded us, and we did lose the little habit of the hour and way. We have seen, above the fluid air, the effaced languor of ravine, and this long valley peopled as a lair with smoky forms, the morn's grey-lidded star. Alone, we felt the storm's approach, the rocks with echo jar. We've heard as war, of world on world, the moving glacier moan. Till to the brain, the healing knowledge of eternal things, the sufferance of limit and the lore, the world's serene adjustment, quiet gave. Till we felt sorrow for the obedient star, pity and patience for the taxed moon, and all this broil of universe that serves its taskmaster. Till it seemed then time was a noisy bellman, tiredly that rung in stellar deserts his dull bell, calling the planets home. A finished day. The orbed meadowland of solar gold was waxen sterile and embrowned. A spell had soon distilled the system to a drop, and of the whole destroyed, one fiery globule wavered in the endless void. So runs the dream about your height. So many may stand with open eye, a dying acolyte, amid your ceremonies that do not die. And here, in sober and subdued soul, without fear, the roll and tidal motion of the sacramental air. Farewell, again farewell, from where ye dwell, we shall descend within the gentle plain. There life is speakable, the while your train, in light of days that set not, but still fair upon the spirit skies, more sober, more serene shall rise, from all the things that were apart, to that high backward of the heart, whereto the thought that travels ne'er hath wholly been. In Ampezzo. In days of summer let me go up over fields in afternoon, and lying low against my stone on slopes the scythe has pain to mow, look southward a long hour alone. For evening there is lovelier than vision or enchanted tale, when wefts of yellow vapor pale, and green goes down to lavender on rosy cliffs, shutting the vale. Whose smoke a violet forest seeks, the steep and rock where crimson crawls, and drenched with carmine fire their walls go thinly smoldering to the peaks, high while the sun now somewhere falls. Except a cloud-caught ochre spark in one last summit, and away on lazy wings of mauve and gray, away and near like memory, dark, as bluish with the filmy day. What time the swallows flying few over uncolored fields become small music through the shining dome, and sleepy leaves are feeling dew above the crickets under hum. And by-tone to a savage sound of waters with that discord smite, the frigid wind and lurking light, and swarm behind the gloom and bound down sleepy valleys to the night. And thoughts delicious of the whole, gathering over all degrees, yet sad for something more than these, across slow meadowlands of soul, grow large like northern lights no one sees. I care not if the painter wrought the tinted dream his spirit hid, when rich with sight he saw amid a jarring world, one-toned and caught the color passing to his lid. Be still, musician, in thy choir, where trumpets blare and the bow stings and symphony a thousand string, to cry of woodwind and desire, of one impassioned voice that sings. Nay, silence have the poet's mode, and southern vowels all. Let die, so ghostly vague, the northern cry. This world is better than an ode, and evening more than elegy. Yet what shall singing do for me? How shall a verse be crimsoned o'er? I ever dream one art the more. I who did never paint would see the color painters languish for, and wisely use the instruments that earlier harmony affords. I dream a poesy of chords, embroidered very rich in tints. 'Tis not enough, this work of words. A wilder thing inflames our hearts. We do refuse to sift and share, for we would musically bear the burden of the gathered arts, together which divided were, and passing knowledge highly rear upon her iron architrave these airy images we rave, lest wholly vain and fallen sheer our vision dress us for the grave. Lakeward. 'Twill soon be sunrise, down the valley wading, far over slope and mountain height the firs undulate, dull and furry under the beating heaven of autumn stars. To westward yet the summits hang in slumber like frozen smoke, there growing wheel on wheel, as 'twere an upward wind of rose and amber goes up the sky of steel. And indistinguishable through the valley an endless murmur freshens as of bees, the stream that gathering torrents frantically churns away through the trees. Mountains, farewell, into your crystal winter to linger on unworlded and alone, and feel the glaciers of your bosom enter, one and another my own. And on the snow that falling edges nearer to lose my very shade, 'twere well, 'twere done, had I not in me the soul of a wayfarer. No, let me wander down. The road lent, as the boulders higher and higher go narrower each to each and hold the gloom, follows like me the water's loud desire of a sun-sweetened home. And as I pass, methinks once more the Titan from the bosom of the humid rocks, where yet his aged eyes grow vague and whiten, weary and wet his locks, gazes away upon this brightened weather, as asking it in reason and in rhyme, how long shall mountain iron and ice together hold against summer time? Long, surely, long perhaps, but not forever. Now here across the buried road and field, torn from the dizzy flanks up there that quiver, down to the plain and spilled. In sand and wreckage lies the avalanche's dead mass under the sun, and not a sound, The morning grows, and from the rich pine branches shadows make blue the ground. To wander south, already here the grasses feather and glint across the sunny air. It's warmer. Up the road a peasant passes, brown-skinned and dark of hair. Some of an autumn glamour on the highway softens the dust, and yonder I have seen, catching the sunlight, something in the byway, else than an evergreen. And weeds along the ditch are parching. Sudden, once more from either side the ranges draw, near each to each, beneath struggle and madden down in the foamy flaw. The waters, and a span across, the boulders, stand to the burning heaven upright and cold, then drawing lengthily along their shoulders vapors of white and gold. Below from the lowland upward, all the gloaming quivers with violet. Here in the wedge, the tunneled road goes narrow and outcoming, stealthily on the edge. Lies free, the outlines have a gentle meaning, willows and clematis, foliage and grain, and the last mountain falls and terraces to the greening, infinite autumn plain. Oh, further southward, down the brooks and valley, on and past the lazy farms and orchards, on. It smells of hay, and through the long Italian flowerful afternoon. Sodden with sunlight, green and gold, the country suspends her fruit and stretches ripe and still between the clumsy fig and silver plane tree, circled from hill to hill. And down the vale along the running river, the vale, the river, and the hills that take the perfect south and here, at last forever, merge into thee, O lake. Sunset enamored in the autumnal hours, when large and westering his heavy rays fall from the vineyards and the garden flowers hazily o'er thy face, and coloring the bosom with a lover's warm and quick lips and hesitating hand, he murmurs to thee while the twilight hovers, lilac about the strand. Thou, mid the grape-hung terraces low-leveled, lookest into the green and crimson sky with swimming eyes and auburn hair dishevelled, radiant in ecstasy. 'Tis evening. In the open blueness stretches a feathery lawn of light from moon to shore, and a boatload of laborers homeward plashes, singing Amor, Amor. At Sainte-Marguerite. The grey tide flows and flounders in the rocks, along the crannies, up the swollen sand. Far out the reefs lie naked, dunes and blocks, low in the watery wind. A shaft of land, going to sea, thins out the western strand. It rains, and all along and always gulls career sea-screaming and in weather glossed. It blows here, pushing round the cliff, and lulls, within the humid stone, a motion lost, ekes out the flurried heartbeat of the coast. It blows and rains a pale and whirling mist this summer morning. I that hither came, was it to pluck the savage from the schist, this crazy yellow bloom without a name, with leathern blade and tortured wiry frame? Why here alone, away the forehead pricked, with dripping salt and fingers damp with brine, before the awful and the derelict, and where the hungry sea-wolves howl and whine, live human hours? Now that the columbine stands somewhere shaded near the fields that fall, great starry sheaves of the delighted year, and glowing rosy on the garden wall, the peach and apricot and soon the pear, drip in the teasing hand their sugared tear. Inland a little way the summer lies, inland a little and but yesterday, I saw the weary teams, I heard the cries of sicklemen across the fallen hay, and buried in the sunburned stacks I lay, tasting the straws and tossing, laughing soft into the sky great eyes of gold and blue, and nodding to the breezy leaves aloft, over the harvest mellow residue. But sudden then strangely dark it grew. How good it is before the dreary flow of cloud and water here to lie alone and in this desolation to let go, down the ravine on with another, down across the surf to linger or to drown. The loves that none can give and none receive, the fearful asking and the small retort, the life to dream of and the dream to live, very much more is nothing than apart, nothing at all in darkness in the heart. I would my manhood now were like the sea. Thou at high tide, when compassing the land, thou findest the issue short, questioningly a moment poised, thy floods then down the strand sink with rancor, sink without command, sink of themselves in peace without despair, and turn as little the calm horizon turns, till they repose little by little nowhere, and the long light unfathomable burns, clear from the zenith stars to the sea ferns. Thou art thy priest, thy victim and thy God. Thy life is bulwarked with a thread of foam, and of the sky, the mountains, and the sod, thou askest nothing, evermore at home, in thy own self perennial masterdom. In a city garden. How strange that here is nothing as it was. The sward is young and new, the sod there shapes a different mass, the random trees stand other than I knew. No, here the past has left no residue, no aftermath. By a new path the workmen homeward in the city twilight pass. Yet was this willow here, it hung as now its olive skeins aloft into the sky, then blue and clear, and yonder pair of poplar trees rose also, soft, and sibilant in the glory of the breeze. It's early dark, one scarce distinguishes their sullen feathering in the autumn sky. 'Tis warm and still. Dull o'er the town the vapors lie, innumerable and dodging the uncertain stare. The small shrewd lampions dot the air. Many like me loiter perhaps as I in after years, as looking here to see some vestige of the living that was theirs, some trace of yesterday, some hint or remnant, echo, clue, something, some very little thing of what was they. Sure, such are near, else were it not so still this evening, so human still and warm and kind. 'Tis as of many moved in unison of will and mind to sing low litanies to that which they had wholly loved. How sweet it is under the perishable trees to hear the wings of the one human soul fluttering up in time's dark branches to the lucid stars. More than despair is hope, and more than hope is the hope that despairs, and more than all is the love that disbelieves the real years. Here in this place, one August morning, when the earlier crowd, showmen or populace, from many a region and of curious face, abroad the holiday, quaint and the sun with garb and gesture glowed, in speaking grave or gay the various accent of their lonely race, between the shadowy gold bazaars idled away, she as a cloud, all sunrise colored and alone, through the blue summer trembling came to me. I dried her tears, and here we sat us down. Little by little, as tripping over sea on flame-tipped waves, the daylight's long surprise sweeps world and heaven in one, so love across our eyes broke with the sun. Happy we walked away, the fairy sight untangling shook a thousand checkered fires, low under scarlet awnings, rung on rung, copper and bronze and azurite, ranged on the sagging wires, the trifles clinked in the red light. From beam and niche, vendors in strange attires, slipping dark hands along, unhooked the quiet wool, the gaudy chintz, or precious where it hung, long fluid jewels of auroral silk, and dryly to the sense their attars old and dusty powders clung. Still past the weavers and the dyers, many a jar, a bowl, turned as of water or of milk, glazen in jade and porcelain, far down the shadows coloring stole, as one had shook a jungle after rain, and basketing the drops at random spilled, their red and green, their topaz and sapphires, all were here piled. And wandering out we smiled to see across the glowing noon so high and far, the incandescent minarets and domes and spires, lifting the fusion of their colored choirs to the sky, softly, save only where a flag or pennant fallen slack shotted the dazzling air. I came today to find her. I came back, humble with sweet desires, across the dun September atmosphere, to her. I came, I knew she was not here. Now let me go. I come because I love her so. Not in the acres of the soul does nature drive the plowshare of her change. It is not strange that here in part and whole the faithful eye sees all things as before, for past and newer flowers above the recent trees and clouds come o'er, love finds the other hours once more. This is the end of part 6 of the poems of Trumbull Stickney. Thank you for listening.